gaan we luisteren natuurlijk naar de voorzien van het landgebied van ons.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Zandvoort for the final round of the 2011 FIA GT3 European Championship. We had an excellent race yesterday, but today is where the title is going to be won and lost. We've got a number of drivers still in contention for the championship. About 14 drivers could walk away from this circuit as the 2011 champion. You can see the crowd standing as the national anthem of the Netherlands is played, and really it's going to be a very interesting race, watched by a large number of people. Some 30,000 people have flocked to the dunes on this very crisp October day. It's a lot warmer than it was yesterday, a lot more pleasant, quite frankly. Not a cloud in the sky, as you can see. 20 degrees the track temperature. That's more than double the track temperature of yesterday's race, which was even a little bit later on in the afternoon. So conditions pretty much perfect for what is going to be, I've no doubt, an excellent race, and what is certain to be a title deciding race. Christopher Haas is going to be on pole position in his Belgian Audi Club Team WRT Audi R8. And the last pole position he had in GT3 was back in 2009 in round 11 of the season at Zolder. So this is his first pole position in GT3 in quite some time. And you can see there, the back of the grid, unfortunately, will be made up by Ronald van der Laar. And the van der Laars had a great run yesterday. So let's have a little chat with some people who are a little bit far away from winning the championship. Albert van Ternden Taxes has a very outside chance of winning. He's with Haley.
Albert, sixth row start. Is it likely you're going to have a finish like yesterday on the podium?
It's improbable. It's quite unlikely. But you never know how these things go. There are a couple of real hot heads in the front, so let's see if they fight it out. Maybe there'll be a bit of luck for us.
Outside possibility of winning the championship. Is it do or die today?
Well, mathematically we have a chance, but it's highly unlikely. We do have a chance of being vice champions, or even third in the championship. I think that will be neat as well. So we have to get as many points as possible, really.
Thank you.
Yeah, Albert is spot on. They're only a couple of points away, some 6 points away from claiming the third place spot in the championship. So that is quite a possibility for them. The championship battle we will focus on in a few moments' time, because it is between the number 50 black Ferrari 458 Italia, the AF Corsa machine of Francesco Castellacci and Federico Leo. And basically their main rival is the number 3 car of Mike Parisi. There you can see Jan Halen about to put on his helmet to get into the car. He is going to be starting in 10th position in the Pro Speed Porsche number 2 car. The Pro Speed Porsche number 1 car, driven by Paul van Splunteren yesterday, and Maxime Soulet won yesterday's race. Fairly comfortably, actually, so they will be looking for a strong performance today, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them because they're starting down on 19th place on the grid, where they started first yesterday. There's Gregoire Gilbert getting ready in his number 16 machine. They are looking for a strong race today. Tapped into a spin, I think, yesterday at the first corner, which gave them a few more problems they would have liked. Him and Patrick Hershey starting in 9th place in that number 16 Santalok Racing Audi R8 LMS. And then we've got Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin. It's going to be Matt Griffin taking the first stint in that MTech Ferrari 458 Italia. They too had a decent run out yesterday. A few problems later on in the race, but because they ended up finishing down in 24th position and a lap down. I think Matt Griffin had a little spin somewhere on the circuit, actually, didn't he, when he was involved in good battles. So they'll be hoping that from 8th on the grid, they can really start to challenge a bit higher up the field. Ahead of them, we've got Jeroen Den Boer and Hoek Vos. These two as well have a very outside chance of winning the championship. They need the winners, the championship leaders, the 50 car to finish way down in 8th place, and then they subsequently need to win the race to have any chance of taking the title. So it really is an outside bet for Jeroen den Boer and Hoek Vos. But Jeroen den Boer really flew through the field yesterday after they had to start from the back due to technical issues in qualifying. Better second qualifying for them means they start 7th on the grid in their BMW Z4 GT3, and subsequently will be aiming a little bit higher. In front of them, on the 3rd row of the grid in 6th place, we have Leo and Castellacci, but here's Mike Parisi.
Mike, you've got quite the challenge on your hands for the championship today.
Yeah, the race is going to be very hard because we are in the battle for the title. We can do it. The car is great, the team is great too, so we have to finish the job now, but we have to be strong because it is going to be very difficult.
Thank you.
Mike Parisi and Gregoire de Moustier. Only Parisi is in the title hunt of those two. They start 3rd on the grid, and basically they could do with winning, because if they win the title and the championship, if they win the race and the championship leading AF Corsa finish 5th, 4th or lower, then they will take the title. So let's hear from the championship leaders then. There with Haley.
Francesco, you started behind Mike. Will you be able to take the title today?
Yes, the 2 words, maximum attack and the Italian product will win, for sure.
Thank you.
Well, that's confidence, isn't it, in the number 50 AF Corsa car. They are starting in 6th place on the grid, as I say. If they finish on the podium, the job is complete. There's nothing anyone can do to stop them. As we see everyone finally clearing the grid now. So they are 6th place on the grid. 5th on the grid is going to be the faster racing by DB Motorsport car of Harry Kolen and Nicky Katzberg. That also is an interesting battle because the team's championship is up for grabs as well. So let's hear now from Christopher Haas. He's our pole position man, and there's Haley.
What a way to finish the weekend on pole back in GT3, Christopher.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to come back with the pole position in the GT3. But now for the race, I hope I can use it very well. And yeah, let's see what happens at Checkered Flag.
Thank you.
Christoph Haas in that car, along with Enzo Ide, who had struggles in his qualifying session, meaning they started yesterday very low down the field, the 33 car, and subsequently only managed to climb up to 17th position. So pole position for this race is very good news for them indeed. The reason we've had such a staggered weekend, really, is because in the first session of qualifying, we had a pretty large accident for the 14 Fischer Racing car of Mikko Eskalainen. Basically, he went into the barriers very hard. We had a long delay. The end of the first qualifying session was cancelled, so subsequently people hadn't set their hot laps, which gave us a bit of a jumbled grid and a bit of a jumbled race. But now, this afternoon, we're going to have all the front runners up at the front, really. Most of the championship contenders are in the top 10. There you can see Lenin Mashitsky and Stefan Rosina in the number 11 Gravity Cheroux Mercedes. They're starting alongside Christopher Haas on the front row of the grid. The only title challenger who isn't really in play is the number 9 Aston Martin of Le Soudier and Maxime Martin. They're down in 24th position on the grid because they had all sorts of troubles, didn't get any testing done on Friday, so therefore Le Soudier was sent out to qualify. And those qualifying laps were his first ever laps around Zandvoort, and what is such a demanding circuit, it was never going to end particularly well for them. So they start down in 24th position, and pretty much, save for some absolutely astonishing turn of fortune, they won't be crowned the champions, despite coming into this weekend 3rd in the championship. There is our pole position man then, Christopher Haas. He is going to lead the field away on this green flag lap. Stefan Rosina on the outside, the ex-Porsche Super Cup racer. And then the two Graf Racing Mercedes behind of Mike Parisi and Thomas Jaeger. Those will be our front 2 rows. 3 Mercedes in the top 4 show what a strong year it has been for them. Although, as I was just getting on to mention earlier, it's a battle between BMWs for the team's championship. Need for Speed Team Schubert have 158 points, and only 11 points behind are Faster Racing by DB Motorsport. So 11 points with 4 cars out there is definitely a number that can swing very easily indeed. Heiko Motorsports, with strong finishes yesterday, have also launched themselves into the title hunt, but they are going to be starting in 12th and 18th places respectively. So looking at the way the grid is lining up, it's going to be a very strong afternoon potentially for faster racing by DB Motorsports, because they are starting in 5th and 6th, whereas Need for Speed are starting outside the points in 16th and 22nd. So that's something to watch out for as well, as the marshal continues to wave the green flag and sets the cars off around this Zandvoort circuit. Let's have a look then at the starting grid. Christopher Haas and Stefan Rosina starting on the first row of the grid. Parisi and Jaeger in the Mercedes will be on the second row of the grid. Nicky Katzberg and Francesco Castellacci will be starting, so our championship leaders down in 6th place on the grid in the number 50 car. Jeroen Den Boer and Matt Griffin in 7th and 8th. Gilbert and Jan Halen will be completing the top 10. There's Albert von Turnen Taxis in 11th place. He's going to be starting. Another outside shot at the title for him. Jesse Krohn in 14th place in the one remaining Ford GT we've got this weekend. Dino Lunardi in the 15 car we were looking at a few moments ago. Then we've got the first in 16th place, the first of our Need for Speed Team Schubert BMWs of Claudia Hertgen. There are yesterday's race winners. The number 1 car, 19th place, Maxime Soulet will be starting off that race for them. Newcomers this weekend starting 21st place, Julien Briche starting Team Cine Cascade in their Lamborghini LP 600. And then at the back of the grid, we've got the 2 Audi R8s. And in the final row is Ronald van der Laar starting, and Jakob Noll starting the Gravity Cheroux Racing Mercedes that struggled somewhat in qualifying yesterday, but surprisingly, considering its teammate is up in 2nd place on the grid, they will be hoping to make their way through the order a little bit quicker than that. There's the 21 machine starting in 8th place, as I say, in the hands of Matt Griffin. And then Albert von Turnen Taxis just behind him. Important to get a bit of heat up for this 1 hour race. This is down into the S's. This is where we saw plenty of action yesterday. The tight right-hander at the end of a fairly long straight meant that there was a pretty decent opportunity for overtaking as they begin to line up in their 2x2 formations. So we've got a Belgian Audi Club Team WRT on pole position, Gravity Cheroux Racing in their Mercedes second, and then the 2 Graf Racing cars, Mike Parisi and Thomas Jaeger on the second row of the grid as they all start to get in formation. There's the Heiko Motorsport car started by Bozy. He is going to be looking for a way up the field to try and secure the team's championship. But the final hour of racing in this year's FIA GT3 European Championship is about to get underway then. Fairly neat formation as we go green. It's not a great start really for the poleman Christopher Haas. He's coming under pressure already, I think, from Mike Parisi, who almost gets biffed against the pit wall under braking, and Parisi is up into 2nd place as he's trying to get the inside on Stefan Rosina. They're all safely through the first corner, which is good to see, and Mike Parisi is up into 2nd place, so he's going to try everything he can to clinch the championship here this afternoon. There's the 50A of Corsa car. He has made it through the first couple of corners unscathed, side by side between Jan Halen and Matt Griffin. Jan Halen goes past Matt Griffin, so that's a very good start. Started 10th on the grid, did Jan Halen. He must be up to about 8th position now as they head out through the fast sequence of curves. This is where the Ford GT went off big style in qualifying yesterday, and now up into Chevlac and then into the Master Bosch corner. So what kind of lead has Christopher Haas got? It was a very poor getaway from him, which meant he was under pressure going into the first corner at Tarzan. And there's yesterday's race winners, Maxime Soulet trying to challenge as they turn into Vilgenhaig at turn 7, then through one of the few left-handers on the circuit at turn 8. A bit of grass being kicked up there by Stefan Rosina. That could put him under a bit of pressure, perhaps from Thomas Jaeger as they head down towards the chicane for the first time. Jaeger not close enough. Then we've got the first of the BMWs in the hands of Nicky Katzberg. A few moves being made down there into the chicane. Nothing too dramatic, thankfully, as Ronald van der Laar made up a position as well going into there. But there are our race leaders then. Federico Castellecci starting this time. Francesco Castellecci, of course, sorry. Federico Leo is his teammate. Across the line they come then. Haas, Parisi, Rosina, Jaeger, Katzberg. Good start from the 44 car. Incredible start from the 44 Heiko Motorsport car. He's gone from 12th on the grid up to 6th in the race as we've got side by side now. That's the 25 machine getting pushed out on the outside. That's the Lamborghini, who has had mechanical problems all through this weekend, losing out to Maxime Soulet now as they head down into turn 3. Castellecci then in 7th place, the championship leaders. So if things stayed how they were, then Castellecci would win the title. But we have, of course, got 57.5 minutes remaining around Zandvoort in a circuit that's caught out a number of drivers over the course of the weekend. Even for these very experienced, very professional GT3 drivers, there's always something to catch you out. A lot of Mercedes in the top group, aren't there? As Castellecci turns his way through the left-hander at turn 8, then out onto the short straight that takes them down to the S-Bosch. And we've got a car in the pits already, and that is the number 9 car, Maxime Martin. Their championship is over because Martin has pulled into the pits. Talking in French, so don't know what they're saying, but that's a real shame. That's one car you can scratch off your potential champion list, because they will not be taking home this 2011 championship trophy. So, out of the final corner, some nice close battles all the way down through the field. A little look up the inside in the battle for 4th place. That's Nicky Katzberg having a look at Thomas Jaeger. Side by side, the BMW trying to get up the inside of Matt Griffin. Not close enough this time around. That's Claudia Herta, I think. Claudia Hertgen from 16th up into 11th. So some really strong opening laps for various drivers, most notably Bosie starting in 12th and up to 6th already. But look at the lead that Christopher Haas is beginning to pull away before he hands over to Enzo Ide. So Maxime Martin, we saw him retiring. Engine problems, says on the timing screen. Let's find out.
Max, it would seem that the race is over. What happened?
Yeah, there was a lot of cars, and they brake quite hard. And yeah, I braked, but a little bit too late. And yeah, I touched a little the Audi, but enough to break the radiator, so it's finished.
Thank you.
So there you can see the front end damage to the number 9 Maxime Martin car. He was going to be handing over to Gaël Lesudia, but he is not now, and that's their 2011 season over. Big lead then for Christopher Haas before a train of 3 Mercedes, 4 Mercedes in 5 positions then behind Christopher Haas. Everyone fairly stationary behind. It looks as though that's a good battle going on between Van der Laar and the 25, between Maxime Soulet and the 25 Reiter Engineering car of Henry Zumbrink. But out of the final corner they come. There is the very fast starting Claudia Hertgen. Made the up into, as I say, 11th position now, so that's another position picked off, and now going to be challenging Matt Griffin for the final points paying spot, which could be crucial for her Need for Speed Team Schubert team as they try and battle to win the team's championship. They're battling those white, red and blue BMWs you can see there. So Mike Parisi is going to be frustrated at the moment. 3.1 seconds down at the end of lap 3, so about a second a lap quicker. Christopher Haas is lapping up at the front. So, but Parisi, if he holds on to this second position with the number 50 car still in 7th place, he still has to win the race to take the title if Leo and Castellacci finish in 7th place. So if things stay how they are, Parisi will need to get past the number 33 Audi in order to win the championship. Otherwise, it's going the way of that 50 car, which is fairly close behind Brice Bosie now. So it drops down into the S's. And, well, Castellacci said maximum attack, and the Italian team will win the championship. He needs to get a little bit closer before he can start to attack, doesn't he, as they head into the final corner. What were their lap times like last time around? Fractionally slower it was actually for Castellacci as they come out across the line. There was 9/10 of a second separating them the last time they crossed the timing beam. It's now 6/10 of a second, so starting to close in. And the problem he's having is, if it was the longer he's held up behind that 44 Mercedes, the group in front are getting away. We saw yesterday the top 10 cars all running together. It's a lot more of a classic field spread we've got so far today. To the left-hander at turn 3. And you can see the two Ryder Engineering cars sandwiching yesterday's race winner, the number 1 Pro Speed Porsche of Maxime Soulet. Heading out over the crest of the hill up towards the fast kinks before the right-hander at Chevlac. And the Pro Speed Porsche Maxime Soulet, you expected them to perhaps be coming through the field a little bit stronger. There is the man we were talking to on the grid, Albert von Turn and Taxis. He's running just a little lower down the order. If they wanted to win the championship, they would have to win the race, but they're currently running well down, unfortunately 15th position, so again it's a long shot for them, but no one at the moment can match Christopher Haas. He is out in front and he is dominating still. On that last lap he had a bit of a slow one. Mike Parisi found a bit of pace, but the gap is still 3.2 seconds, so perhaps now Christopher Haas will just head out front and try and manage that gap as best he can before handing over to Enzo Ide, who in himself is a very good driver as well. So it's looking like a strong afternoon for them. They came into the weekend as championship challengers, but I think mathematically they may be out of it now. Certainly it's going to take an awful lot for them to take the title, because they have now dropped down into 8th position in the championship after yesterday's racing. So it's going to be very, very tough indeed for them to try and take the championship away from this 50 car, which is beginning to get on the back of Brice Bosey. And this is going to be difficult for Castellacci, because he said earlier maximum attack, but he doesn't want to attack too much and end up out of the race, giving an open goal to Mike Parisi. So it's going to be very interesting to see Castellacci's thoughts and behaviours. This is the battle towards the back of the field. This is Van der Laar battling with Jakob Noll. In the lower reach of the field, Van der Laar, who gave us such entertainment yesterday. You can see now Mike Parisi slowly pulling away from Stefan Rossina behind him. Stefan Rossina ahead of Thomas Jaeger, and then Nicky Katzberg is the first of those BMWs. And if things stay how they are, I think you'll find that Nicky Katzberg will help Faster Racing by DB Motorsport to take the title. And he's certainly not getting left behind, is he, by the Mercedes in front of him. Here at the bottom of that Mercedes, scraping along the floor as Mike Parisi took as much curb as he possibly could, but he still lost 4/10 of a second on that last lap to Christopher Haas. The gap was 3.6. It is now 3.9, so another 3/10 of a second. Mike Parisi doesn't really have an answer to the pace of Christopher Haas up at the front at the moment. Into Tarzan. You see Stefan Rossina a little bit wide in Tarzan. Perhaps he's just starting to struggle as well as he tries to keep up the pace at the front with Mike Parisi. 50 minutes to go. A little bit less than 50 minutes. And the pit window will open with 35 minutes to go. So that'll be interesting to see. Stefan Rossina set his fastest lap of the race on that last lap, so he's pushing to try and close in on Mike Parisi in front. The gap is a smidgen under a second, and then it's 6/10 of a second between him and Jaeger and Katzberg. There you can see exactly how the gaps are forming. It's 4-second pretty much lead at the front now for Christopher Haas at the end of lap 6, so he is in a league of his own this afternoon. Behind them, it's Brice Bosey, some 4 seconds back down the road in his Mercedes, and there's yesterday's race-winning car. Maxime Soulet has pulled it into the pits. They were having a very good battle with the Ryder Engineering 25 car of Henry Zumbrink, so perhaps a coming together, or perhaps just a problem that looks to be with the underneath of the car, because it sounds like they're changing the rear right wheel, but also that mechanic was getting right underneath, wasn't he? So try and find out what happened there as Christopher Haas exits the final corner once more. He's been lapping consistently in the mid 1 minute 40s, and that was another one, mid to high 1 minute 40s, 1 minute 40.894. The rest of the field matched him on that lap. It was a 40.9 for Mike Parisi, a tenth of a second slower with Stefan Rosina in third place. So let's hear from Jeroen van Splunter and see if he can tell us what's happened to his Porsche.
Paul, what's happening with the Porsche?
It looks like a drive shaft snapped, so at least we have a gearbox and transmission problem. So I think we took everything we could yesterday, but today is not much luck for us.
What was the cause of the broken drive shaft?
We don't know yet, but it looks like a transmission problem in the form of a drive shaft, so we have to see afterwards.
Thank you.
Well, I think after that win yesterday, nothing that happened today could have soured his mood on this weekend much. Paul van Splunter delighted to take the win yesterday at his home circuit, where he's been racing for some 15 or 20 years. Mainly in touring cars, but making the step up to GT3 cars, he said it turns into a different track almost, because you have entirely different reference points for braking. You're taking different speeds through corners, lifting where you never used to lift, and that sort of thing. Is this continuing Mercedes battle? Parisi now edging ever clear of Stefan Rosina, and Thomas Jaeger is able to keep the pace. There's a visualization of the gap. That's what 5 seconds looks like, and then we've got a great little train going on, haven't we? It's Brice Bosey leading it, then we've got Castellecci behind him, and then a little bit of a gap back to Jan Halen in the 2 car before Jesse Krohn, Matt Griffin and Claudia Hurtgen complete the little train. And Gregoire Gilbert as well, right at the end of it. So across the line they come. This is all backing up over 6th position. Claudia Hurtgen looking a little bit racy. She's in the slipstream of Matt Griffin, has a little pull out to the inside of the very banked first corner here at Zandvoort. Not close enough to make a move just yet. And, the scrap over, well, as we've said earlier, it's the final points paying position. Now we've got side by side. That is the other AF Corsa car going very, very defensive. The Audi's up the inside, a little bit of bodywork rubbing, but the 22 Audi of Joseph Osborne does manage to bully his way past Abdullah Al Faisal, that is. So Al Faisal drops to the back of that pack, the middle of that pack, I should say, just behind. So it's the second AF Corsa car you can see out in front, and that's being started by Glingedi, who was running a little higher up the order than this yesterday, getting involved in some of the battles towards the front of the field, and maybe now he's been released, he may be able to pull away, because this is all over 20th position, I think. 19th place, actually. Glingedi has just got past then, so Glingedi is up into 19th position. So they head through turn 8 now. And oh, that's a little late look up the inside, wasn't it, from Dino Lunardi, I think that was. So Dino Lunardi's had a pretty poor start as they come past. He started in the 15th position on the grid, but is now down in the early 20s. So it's not gone particularly well for the man who was running very strongly in the Blancpain Endurance Series last weekend in the new Alpina. Into the final corner they come. There is Dino Lunardi at the back of this pack, which means he is in 24th position. Only one retirement so far. That was the number 9 car of Maxime Martin that we spoke to with Haley a few moments ago. Ferrari going defensive once more. Glingedi desperately trying to keep Joseph Osborne behind him. Now that he's got past, this is all over, as I say, 20th position. The other Audi in there is the WRT Audi, which is being driven by Greg Franke at the moment, the 32 car. As they head up the hill, it's a great little battle. It's over the many minor positions. There's the other WRT car, Christopher Haas leading the way. 4.2 seconds the gap now over Mike Parisi, who has really started to put the pace down, beginning to match Christopher Haas and subsequently pull away from third place man. Let's hear from Mike Parisi's teammate, Gregoire Demoustier.
Greg, what do yourself and Mike need to do to take that win today?
At the moment, Mikey is second, so it's a good place because he started at third place. So the race will be long, I think, because the Audi is first with some advantage, but we'll see at the end of the race. You have to finish first to win the championship. It will be a hard race.
Thank you.
So Mike Parisi there in second place. We'll be handing over to Grégoire de Moustier in a few this time, not too long now before the pit window opens, about 7 minutes, and then we'll see drivers coming in to swap over. Christopher Haas, I think, will want to stay out there all day. Here's this battle. That's a very late move from the Audi. Uses the exit of the pit lane, but Glengetty gets the undercut. Does he? No, not quite. He climbs up onto the curbs, but doesn't make the move stick. So up into 20th position then goes the Audi of Joseph Osborne. Into the left-hander now at turn 3. It was a good move from Osborne. I think Glengetty thought he had it covered by running the white line, but Osborne thought, well, I'm going to have a trip into the pit lane and see if I can get past there, and it worked very, very effectively indeed as they climb the hill. It's the number 6 car they've got with them, which is the Need for Speed Team Schubert car of Al Faisal. Here we go. Gleddy thinks he's got it done, but Joseph Osborne just dives down the pit lane exit, and then Geddy thinks he can get the cutback, but the curbs here at Zandvoort, old school curbs really, aren't they? They're very steep, and as a result, Geddy got up onto them. Saw a car spin earlier in one of the local races they were having here because he got up onto that curb, broke traction on the rear wheels and just spun around. It was an Aston Martin, so that was the danger that Glengetty was trying to avoid, and he now drops into 21st place, and immediately you can see that Audi just begin to break away. There's Dino Lunardi then, he's looking to pounce. He's in the black and blue Audi, second from the back in that pack, right up onto the back now of Abdullah Al Faisal. A little bit of dust kicked up, and I think this could be a good opportunity for Dino Lunardi. He's tucked right into the rear wing of that BMW, and Glengetty went wide once again, so he's going to have to go defensive on the run down the pit wall. Al Faisal looks to the outside, but surely Geddy can hold it in from there. There's the inside line for Dino Lunardi. Good spot. There's contact between the two of them. Al Faisal is sent towards the inside. Dino Lunardi just about recovers as well. He tried to back out of it. That means 2 positions made up for Greg Franke in the WRT Audi R8 LMS. That all just got a bit messy, didn't it? It was a good spot from Dino Lunardi. The gap appeared as Al Faisal tried to go around the outside, but Al Faisal then tried to subsequently get the cutback, I think. And there was contact between the two of them. Good to see they both managed to continue, but have lost a few places. Here, look, there he goes, up the inside. Then Al Faisal tries to get the cutback, and there's contact there. I think, well, Al Faisal just didn't really leave him enough room, did he? And he comes off best in all that, does Al Faisal. Dino Lunardi drops to the back of the pack and will now have to try and catch up. Christopher Haas, his lead is now 4.8 seconds. He's continuing to extend it, but look how close these two Mercedes and the BMWs have come. It's Stefan Rosina in the 3rd place, but they're battling. He's gone a little bit wide. That might give Thomas Jaeger a little bit of an opportunity. Nicky Katzberg just keeping a watching brief in that BMW now. In this battle for 3rd position, into turn 3. All locked together. Stefan Rosina don't get started on the front row of the grid, so he's got the pace. 3.5 tenths of a second quicker than anyone else was Christopher Haas in qualifying. And so far in this race, he's very quick indeed, and he's going to be handing over to Enzo Ide in a few minutes' time, and he's with Haley.
Enzo, there's still a long way to go, but can you and Christopher take this win today?
Yeah, still a long way to go, but Christopher is doing a very nice job. It's unbelievable. I think he has now a 5-second lead after 13 minutes, so it's okay. And then I hope the tires will be okay for my stint. And I hope we can go on like this until the end and win the race. Believe in it, and we will believe in it until the end.
Thank you.
No further action to be taken between that collision we saw a few moments ago between Abdul Al Faisal and Dino Lunardi. That's just been told to us by the stewards, but it really is an impressive early start for Christopher Haas. 12 minutes down and a 5-second lead. Very, very strong indeed. And Enzo Ide possibly just a little bit nervous now. He has to take over that car and try and repeat that performance, or at least live up to it. These three have spread out a little bit. Stefan Rosina seems to have got his head back together. It was a slow lap, actually, wasn't it? A 42.6. So I wonder if Rosina made a mistake on that lap 12, which allowed Thomas Jaeger to climb right up to the back of him. Thomas Jaeger, the Swiss driver, right up behind Stefan Rosina as they head into turn 3 once more. And the difficulty that Rosina is going to have, that Jaeger is going to have, is that Rosina in front of him is in a very, very similar Mercedes. We've seen with these inter-brand racing that different cars have different strengths at different points on the circuit. But if you're in the same car as your rival, it can be quite a challenge to try and find a gap. Mike Parisi is pulling away. You can see him just flashing through a shot there. He's pulling away from these three, but losing ground to the leader. So it's got to be a win if he wants to take the championship with the 50AF Corsa car still running in 7th place. But a wide line being taken in by Thomas Jaeger as he tries to get the best slingshot out of the corner possible. It's going to be pretty close, only about a car length between them. There's Nicky Katzberg keeping a watching brief, as I say. I think if he finishes here, that should possibly be enough to swing the championship in his favour. Maybe not quite, because there's an 11-point gap between them, and he would only pick up 10 points for finishing in 5th place. So that's how close things are, and none of the other contenders are in the top 10, are they? No, neither the 6 or the 7 car for Need for Speed Team Schubert are in the top 10, so Nicky Katzberg only needs to make up 1 position in order to clinch the championship for his team. As things stand at the moment, it'll all take on a different shape once the pit stops get underway. Behind then, we've got Brice Bosey leading the way ahead of Castellecci. Let's see, getting ready for the pit stops. Drivers suited and booted, because the pit stop window opens in 42 seconds, so it depends who they want to leave out in the car, who they deem to be their quickest driver, who they want to get into the seat as soon as possible. The 50 car not really been held up so much by Brice Bosey in front, because you wouldn't say he's all over the boot lid, but, well, the 51 car has had cars all over his boot lid all day long, and it's no different now, because Glengetti's starting to come under pressure from Greg Franke now in the Team WRT Audi. So they head through turn 3, and that has also allowed Dino Linani and Abdullah Al-Faisal to catch back up again as well. So there's the pit stop window opening. The 4 of them are still having a great battle over 20th place, and I think we may have just had a bit of an incident. That is the 38 car of Philippe Salaquada. Lots of gravel in the front, lots of damage, a bit of damage anyway on the rear, and is that a rear left puncture? Possibly. So we'll see if we can find what happened there. Team Cine Cascade car heading through. That's being started by Julien Briche today, running in 18th place. Car 30 is out and back at turn 5, so that's a difficult one because there isn't a car 30, so I imagine they're talking about car 38. Scuderia Vittoria, which would make sense. We've got someone diving into the pits then, and there's one of the Mercedes coming in as well from towards the back. That's one of the Heiko Motorsport cars, the 45 machine, heading into the pits, currently running quite a way down the order. And it's our championship leaders that are in the pits then. Castellecci is going to hand over to Federico Leo, so they're the first to blink. Just trying to get a bit of clear air. They were 7th when they came into the pit, so that's important to remember. Where will they be once it all shakes out in about 10 minutes' time? They, of course, won't have any pit stop time penalties because they didn't finish in the top 3 during the race yesterday. In fact, none of our top 3 today finished in the top 3 yesterday. Such has been the curious nature of this weekend. We've also got Philippe Salaquada in the pits then. He's going to be handing over to Michael Lyons. The Need for Speed cars in as well. I think think that's the one. I think that's Abdullah Al Faisal is going to be handing over. So out come our championship leaders then. Now in the hands of Federico Leo with 33 minutes remaining. What kind of pace can he find? And can he find enough pace to seal the 2011 GT3 European Championship title? He's come out of the pits, obviously some way down the field. There's our race leader making his way into turn 1, so he's almost put 2 laps on them, such as the amount of time it takes to make a pit stop. And he's now just holding the gap at 5 seconds. With Christopher Haas in this kind of pace, you'd think it might be a while before they bring him in to hand over to Enzo Ede, because he's clearly in the zone at the moment, lapping very consistently, very, very quickly as well. Now here is a good battle going on. Matt Griffin coming under pressure still for 10th position. Claudio Hurtgen behind. Well, it's not 10th now because they've all shuffled up into 8th place. But ultimately it was for 10th position before the pit stop windows started to happen. Matt Griffin, who's been out in the British GT Championship all of this season as well. Claudia Hurtgen right up behind. Then we've got Jan Halen there in the number 2 Porsche, as Albert von Turnen Taxis looks to be handing over in that number 24 car. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff will be taking over as he gets strapped in. These two are running fairly strongly just towards the lower reaches of the top 10. Thomas Jaeger still is trying to find a way past Stefan Rossina. This is now the battle for third ultimately, because none of our real front runners, none of our top 5 have pitted yet. So when will that change as these two come around the final corner? Will either of them dive into the pits to try and gain the advantage of running in a bit of clear air? Doesn't look like it. They continue out to continue their duel for another lap. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff comes out just in front of, well, quite a way in front of Mike Parisi, who disappears out of shot. And then we've got this battle between Stefan Rossina and Thomas Jaeger. A little bit sideways as Stefan Rossina puts the power down. Experienced GT driver, did FIA GT1. Also competed in the Porsche Super Cup. He's coming under an awful lot of pressure now from Thomas Jaeger, but he's been managing to soak it up for the majority of the race, so there's no signs of Rossina cracking just yet in the Gravity Charoo car. Car 51 spun and rejoined at turn 8, so that was Glyn Geddy, so he was in a good battle, but I think that's going to lose him out a number of places. That means, yeah, Dino Lunardi has passed and Greg Franke has passed. And I assume Abdullah Al Faisal, after he's come in and handed over, once that pit stop sorts itself out, he will be making his way past as well. These two, every time we see them coming into this corner, Thomas Jaeger takes a wider line in to try and get the move done. Greg Franke is in the pits now. There he is. Going to be handing over to Didier Andre. Still work being done on that 38 car in front, actually, you can see. So before Michael Lyons takes over, it looks as though there's quite a lot of work to be done on that 38 car after its little trip through the gravel. A bit smoky at the rear there for Greg Franke's car. A little bit of concern as he straps in Didier Andre. Door is shut, isn't just smoking brakes because they're so hot they're going to take the wheel off and have a little inspection. So concern in the pits for the 32 Audi. Wasn't really running particularly competitively, down in about 17th position ultimately, so it isn't going to affect them too badly. Now Nicky Katzberg is starting to bring himself back into play, isn't he? Between these three. In fact, he's very much back into play. The gap between the three of them almost equidistant. Only 4 minutes to go in this pit stop window, and we've still had none of the top 5 come in, so it could be an absolute pit lane dash if they all decide to come in on the very same lap. Up the hill they climb. And we will also have to wait and see where the number 50 car of Castellecci comes back out once everyone else has pitted. That's going to be the crucial thing in terms of the championship. Parisi still running in second place. He's closed the gap a little bit. The gap between first and second, and there's a spin. It's the 12 Gravity Charoo car. We've seen Jakob Noll battling all day. Stovacek, I think, has taken over now, and he's in the gravel. These three continue to battle. Hopefully Stovacek can get that car out of the gravel down at turn 1. Otherwise the marshals will have a bit of a risky job. Down into the S's comes this battle. They're soon going to be catching up with Nicky Melnhoff in the 24 Lamborghini.